So if he gets this thing, if he and Industrial Heat get this thing going, they should make the announcement about 6 months from now, into the year sometime. At which point they say they've got a bunch of customers in the wings ready to buy these things. And, this is sort of like the Wright Brothers. Nobody believed airplanes would fly until they looked up one day and there it was going over their head.
Over their head, yeah.
And the perception changed very, very quickly.
Yeah.
About 3 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think all you have to do is, Rossi says, I'm not going to sit around arguing with scientists about whether this works or not, or whether it's a fraud or anything else. I'm going to start selling these things.
Right.
And somebody will let you in and take a look at it. You can sit there and burn your hands on it if you want. That's your business, or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
For that. Okay, that's technology number 1.
Okay.
But not the most interesting.
Oh, all right.
I think the most interesting around is our friends up at Blacklight Power.
Okay, right.
Up in New Jersey. Now, I don't know if you followed this thing, but he has made major progress in the last 12 months.
I haven't followed that closely.
Okay, go to his website, Blacklight Power, go for demonstration days and look at his last demonstration.
Okay.
He's been there for 25 years.
Yep.
Now, he is far more controversial than Rossi because his theory is extremely controversial because it undercuts, a big piece of quantum mechanics.
Yeah.
Which he says a big piece of quantum mechanics is wrong, which immediately, sets on edge every physicist in the United States who sits there and yells he's a fraud.
Yeah.
These quantum mechanics can't be wrong.
Right.
But what he has discovered, basically what he says, okay, there exists a compacted form of hydrogen.
Yeah.
Called a hydrino. As a matter of fact, he says 80% of the universe is made up of hydrinos. That's what dark matter is.
Oh, okay.
It's simply hydrogen atoms that have had their electron pushed down to a quarter the distance from the nucleus, from the proton. You simply squeeze a hydrogen atom down to a quarter the size. This releases a huge amount of energy.
Yeah.
And he says this is what dark matter is. Interesting part, why they haven't discovered this before is that the hydrino neither absorbs or emits light. Very difficult to detect.
That's why it's black light. Yeah.
That's why it's black. That's why it's black. It's undetectable. It's basically undetectable except for very sophisticated things that I don't understand.
Yeah.
Various types of spectroscopy, spectroscopy that I'm not into. You got to really be out there in physics to know this stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, big breakthrough last year was he, after 20 years of working at this stuff, he found that the way you make a hydrino, repeated and reliably, is you get yourself some metallic powder that can accept energy, make it damp, put a little hydrogen in there, water in there, and then you zap it with some low voltage, like 4 volts, high amperage electricity, at which point you put 2 electrodes in and put a zap through it with power, at which point there is a great big flash and a lot of energy is released.
Yeah.
Now, he's got very nice demos on his website up there. I would go see him. It takes an hour to see. It's well worth seeing his pitch.
I think I actually remember seeing one of those demonstrations online.
Well, he did one about 18 months ago, then he did a big one last summer.
Yep. Yep.
Out of this, the big change last summer was he just found that this big flash was practically all light.
Yeah.
Nothing but photons. There was very little explosion. As a matter of fact, the air pressure only went up 10%. It's a little bop in your barometer. It was not an explosion. It was a release of photons. So I immediately said to myself, we know what to do with photons. By the way, this flash is 50,000 times the brightness of the sun against the Earth.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we know what to do with photons. We get ourselves a photocell.
Right.
Just point them at the photons.
Right.
And get all the electricity you want. So the problem became these detonations last 50 milliseconds.
Yeah.
So you're going to need hundreds of these things per second to get a continuous stream of light. He's working on that right now. He's developed a gadget. We've got a design for it, and it's out being manufactured. The last time we heard from him was about March, when they said, we're still working on it. We've got all the sub-pieces, sub-assembly of this thing working. We're trying to get integrated now. When this thing works, he has got a gadget that's about a cubic meter. You like this for cars, by the way.
Okay.
Which will produce, he says, 10 megawatts of electricity.
Wow, in a cubic meter.
A cubic meter, I think another meter of solar cells, maybe 2 cubic.
So basically about 2 of your copy machines behind you.
2 copy machines, copy machine would make 10 megawatts. He says the one they're working on now is only something like 200 or 300 kilowatts.
Right.
Which he points out somewhere, which is more than adequate to drive a car. I think he says 300 kilowatts will drive a car very nicely.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
As a matter of fact, he says all you need is an eyedropper of water. He says a liter of water will get you from New York to California on this. Now, again, this is not here yet. This is a lot of engineering. What he's basically saying, it is now engineering, not science anymore. He's got the science. He understands it. He understands what these powders look like. He understands what's happening.
Yeah. I assume the powders are proprietary. I mean, we know that there's nickel.
No, they're not really proprietary.
Oh, okay.
It's all web. It's all out there. He's experimenting with different kinds of powders.
Right.
But it's just a metallic powder with something in it to hold the hydrogen, hold the water. Yeah. And basically what they do, and the powder is just recycled against the catalyst. It's not used up. So the only input to this thing is water.
Yeah.
Eyedropper is full of water. You're dealing with like pinheads of powder in each explosion. All you got to do, or each detonation, all you got to do is clean the powder up and run it through again, recycle it again.
Yeah.
So basically, they're working on some gadget that picks up the scattered powder, scrapes it all together, puts a little water on it, and runs it back into the. It's a couple of gears the way it works. You can see it on these 2 big gears come together.
Yeah.
And as the gears come together, electricity hits, and you get a big flash.
Huh.
Duck that. So that's.
Yeah.
Now, this is the most interesting because it is far more flexible than LENR, as you can see immediately.
Yeah.
If you've got something that size that could power a car, even more interesting, he says, okay, 10 of these 10 megawatt things would power a 787. There's your air power.
Yeah.
There's your aircraft right there.
Yeah.
You've got a 787 to power. You put 10 cubic meters down the hole somewhere and off this electric engines.
Yeah.
Now, how soon this is coming, God knows. He's been at this 25 years. Some of his credibility has got a problem because he's made optimistic announcements before, and then it was 3 or 4 years before he made another optimistic announcement.
Yeah.
Now, right now he's got a pretty good online demo, and he has absolutely no trouble financing this stuff. He says a lot of electric utilities are behind to financing them. He's got no problem getting money out of Wall Street. Every time he goes to Wall Street and says, send me another 10 mil or so, shows up. He said they've put over 100 million into this thing so far.
Yeah. On
this thing. Somebody out there, they go to these demos, they look at it, they believe them.
Yeah.
So far as I can tell, nobody has said he's wrong with his theories. They just say he's wrong. Nobody's proved he's wrong.
Yeah.
They just say he's wrong because, I'm a professor so-and-so at MIT and I say he's wrong, and by the way, I'm too busy to waste my time looking at his numbers.
Right.
On this sort of thing.
Right.
So because I just know he's wrong. In my heart, I know he's wrong. Everything I know says he's wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to waste my time. He's saying, okay, I'm just going to bring this gadget out, this prototype out, and I'm going to turn it on, and you can sit there watching the lightning bolts go flying out of it until you're blue in the face.
Yeah.
Because that sort of undercuts it. If there's another theory of how it works, fine.
Yeah.
All we care is electricity coming out. So that to me, he has got a far more interesting technology than something that just makes a lot of heat. The low-energy nuclear reaction cold fusion business just produces a lot of heat right now. You still have to figure some way to make it.
What are you going to do with it? Right.
If this thing makes photons, what you do with it is very simple.
Yeah.
Because as Mills points out, we've already spent about $1 trillion developing photoelectric cells in the last 20 or 30, 40 years.
Yeah.
It's a well-established technology. As a matter of fact, it's not just the solar panel cells. What they want for these things are the concentrator cells.
Yeah.
Where they point the mirrors at them.
Right.
And those things are measured in thousands of sun. This particular band of cells will take can concentrate 1,000 suns worth of power at it.
Yeah.
And some of the major problem is the efficiency and how hot they get.
Yeah.
How you got the excess heat away from it. Same thing with this gadget.
Yeah.
If you get 50,000 suns of light coming out of this damn thing, you've got well, heat dissipation, everything else.
Yeah. Yeah.
But to me, this looks like step. Okay, so that's technology number two.
Two.
And okay. Remember, Rossi is running already. Industrial heat's in operation right now. You can look at it. In fact, he's going to put a picture online this week. If you poke around the right place, you can see his picture of him sitting in his gadget up there.
Oh, okay.
It's prototype. Actually, the actual prototype in operation. He's trying to take the picture so it doesn't divulge where it is.
Yeah.
And there's not enough resolution in the picture that somebody can blow it up and look at how he built the thing. So
right.
So it's a tricky picture problem. The Hydrino business and Blacklight, they said they thought they'd have it something done 6 months ago. The last time we heard from them is saying, hey, we're having troubles engineering this thing, scraping together the catalyst and making a continuously running thing. We have no trouble making the detonations, getting the 50,000 suns out of this thing. They've got a couple years that does it, a couple every second or so. They got to get this thing up to 200 times per second.
Yeah.
Which is a pretty fast spinning gear, so it's a continuing burst of light. But it's an engineering problem. And compared to an iPhone, there isn't that much science there in this thing.
Yeah.
There isn't too much to it. It's rather, everybody that's looked at this say, hey, they brought in people from the outside. He says he's contracted with major U.S. engineering corporations, won't say who say they are, but he does say they've got the capability of making these things by the millions.
Yeah.
They're so big. So you're looking at GM or somebody, right? Or GE or something.
Yeah. So I'm curious. So where does you've been retired now for a number of years from the agency.
Sure.
But I'm curious. Do you have sort of a sense of where they might come down on something like this? Or are they sort of in the let's keep the oil flowing as opposed to let's?
I just have lost all contact from there. It's been 20 years since I've left.
Yeah, okay.
I just start talking to people that have a sense for what's going out.
Yeah.
I just have no sense of where they are on this stuff, except they've got themselves wrapped up in the Middle East and what they're saying, what they're telling the president about this stuff. And I'm better way off. Now I'm free to write anything. Yeah. If I knew anything, I couldn't write anything. So now they just leave me alone. Harmless now.
Yeah. Yeah. So where does ASPO come down on this then?
Well, as far as I can see, the ASPO, the major thinkers at ASPO. I'm just a recorder. I just write down what happens.
Yeah.
They're basically getting around the idea that that the shale oil is not going to last that much longer. Even if we hadn't had this big price drop, which killed half the drilling, it wasn't going to go on it wasn't going to go on growing more than a year or two. The shale oil in the U.S. was going to peak just because there wasn't that much of it.
Yeah.
Remember, all the California shale oil went away. Most to be that 2/3 of the shale oil was under California. Then last year, somebody said, "Oh, it isn't." I remember. Actually, the post-carbon guys, Dave Hughes, wrote a study saying this is absurd. California, as we well know, is up and down and up and down. It's a San Andreas fault. The whole place is a fault line between two tectonic plates. There isn't any place you can get much out of. Yeah. You got to be flat, like Nebraska or North Dakota or something.
Right? Yeah.
You have to be underneath a sea for a couple million years for this to, it's not in California.
Well, we've got a sort of a shale bed to the southeast of me here. I hope to God that they never get around to wanting to exploit it, though.
Probably what the cost is.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the basically they're saying the people in ASPO are saying, it's all over now, just for geologic reasons, and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's all over. We are not going to keep increasing this forever. They're saying the same thing about natural gas. They're saying the best. This Marcellus shale has been wonderful. That's this stuff.
Go ahead.
And the natural gas up there, that will be over in probably 5 years, by 2020.
Okay.
It's not be growing anymore. So this notion of the U.S. powering the world is probably not true.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the EPA keeps putting pressure on the electric power industry. They're killing their electric plants. Coal production in the U.S. is dropping like a brick. The power companies are going to natural gas. It's the quickest way to get them off their backs, get the EPA off their backs, and away we go.
Yeah.
So we're basically saying in the next 5 years at the outside, both the shale oil is going to go away, natural gas is going away, and there's been such a huge cut in investment in oil at these prices.
Yeah. Well, and yet you have, you've got the divestiture movement that's taking place right now. The most recent is that Norway's, I forget the name of the fund, but it's the largest fund out there.
Yeah.
Can you hold just a second? I'm going to have to, whoever this is, hold on just a sec.
No problem. No rush.
Hi, this is Bill. Okay. Somebody wasn't there, so we'll cut that and we'll move on then. So, okay, so you've got the divestiture movement, Norway being the latest with their sovereign fund where they said, we're not going to invest in fossil fuels anymore, which is interesting because that's where they've made the most of their money is from their oil and gas.
Well, the whole world is realizing this thing is coming to an end. There's got to be alternatives, and that's why it's an alternative. 5 years from now, it's clear that the growth of oil is going to subside. If the exports, and if you just even leaving the whole geopolitical business out, everybody's shooting at each other across the Middle East, which is likely to take. It's already taken out Syria, Sudan, Yemen, some Saudi production or some Egyptian production. Libya's out. All these places are way out.
I'm surprised Nigeria hasn't dropped out because of Boko Haram and all the corruption.
Nigeria's place is going down the tubes rapidly. This stuff 5 years from now is going to be a lot less oil coming out, which is why I spent a lot of time worrying about all these alternatives and how fast these guys are doing it and how this gets integrated into this thing. Have you heard about the kinetic thruster yet? That's the newest one.
No, that one I was curious. What was that about?
Oh, that's a really new one. You're not going to believe this if you don't believe cold fusion. If you don't believe the hydrino business, this is really going to blow your mind.
Okay.
This is totally mind-boggling. This is so close to perpetual motion. Every time I mention it to, starts rolling on the floor in laughter.
Yeah.
But a bunch it's a Swiss company, which seem to be doing most of the business in Slovenia now, I guess.
Yeah.
Down there, have come up with the notion of floats. And what they have a tower of water, a column of, it's on the web too, it's a tower of water. And in this tower are a bunch of floats on a big bicycle chain that go from the top to the bottom.
Okay.
At the bottom of the tower, they blow the water out with compressed air. The floats go to the top, where they fill again and sink to the bottom.
Okay.
This is got a chain going. This is got it going up and around, 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 around. Just goes up and down all around. And it turns out that with the latest generators, you can make more electricity from this chain going around than it takes to blow the air out of the water. It makes to run the air compressor and blow the water out.
Huh.
You have something that looks very close to perpetual motion.
Yeah.
Except they're saying no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's using gravity, which is what's basically behind buoyancy. It's basically using buoyancy, to lift floats and run these things down again. So far, they have had it's working. They had a 2-week demonstration that was all on television 24/7 of a 5 kW gadget. They're now putting in, and it should be operational the first week of June. It's all there. We saw the parts for it. A 100 kW gadget. And in a couple of places in East Europe, they're building multi-megawatt power stations where it's nothing but floats going up and floats going down. And this is running electric generators, and this is putting out power. Now, if you want really, the major advantage of this, of course, unlike solar and wind, it just sort of goes 24/7. All you can do is keep it from freezing.
Yeah.
The way you do that is you drill a hole in the ground, put your tank down a hole in the ground, and let it all be underground.
Right. Where the ground's stable at 54 degrees. So
throw a little Prestone in there too. If you like.
Right.
Prestone, that'll do it.
Yeah.
But this thing goes up and down. So there's another interesting disruptive technology. Suppose you replace all the power plants of the world. Actually, if you poke around a little bit, you'll find in Germany somebody is starting to offer on the market houses with one of these things built into it. They've got a 20-meter tank of water, sort of where the chimney usually goes.
Yeah.
And it goes up the top, and they'll put your tank in there. These things are now for sale, by the way. You can buy one right now. a company called Roche or something called Gaia Energy. They got these things for sale. They're doing a first run of 500 of these tanks.
Yeah.
You take it to your house, and it'll produce 5 kW. Now, for the American house, 5 kW, European house is probably okay. American house, not air conditioning, heat pumps, the rest of this stuff. But again, this is theoretically totally scalable. Whether or not they can scale it, we'll see. I don't know what happens. They've got designs online for 100 megawatt things, which belong to power companies.
Yeah.
At which point the power companies can run their generators just from floats going up and down, and obviously no emissions and no fuel costs.
Yeah.
So they should be cheap to run, and the EPA should be happy as a clam.
Yeah.
So that's disruptive technology 2.
That's number 3.
That's number 3. Disruptive technology 3, and number 4, of course, is our newest thing, our ultra capacitors.
Right.
And we've got the 2 companies doing this thing now. We've got the EE Store down there, who've been laboring away for 20 years.
Yeah.
And just this year, they say, okay, we've got something. It's barium titanate, I guess is what it is. And they say, we've got this. We've now got a material for the capacitors that people can come in. We've got a production line for it. People can come buy experimental quantities with it and see if they can make themselves capacitors.
Right.
Now, whether or not this thing stores enough, as the carbon business does, the graphene does, to power a car, is a good question.
Yeah.
But of course, this could disrupt a whole bunch of things. One, it does an awful lot for the solar wind energy, because you can run stuff 24/7. You can just put enough solar in there to run your house. It could easily do. It could if enough capacity, enough solar, you could easily do in the need for the power company. And of course, there's your electric car right there.
Yeah,
that's a quick answer to it. I tell you, you've seen how this stuff can be molded around. It doesn't come in a brick. It comes in foldable, shape and right. You can put it anywhere in a car.
You build the body out of it. Yeah.
You build the body. You put it in the headliners. You put it in the back of the seats. You can put it in the door panels anywhere you want. You build the whole anything with a little inch or 2 of space in there. You put this in there.
Yeah.
So you build a car out of this stuff. That's what you could do. It must be pretty strong too. I don't know. You maybe build the fenders with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
See where they go. We're just at the beginning of age of this stuff. Now the question is, we both know, how long is this going to take? So far, they're just at the laboratory level. They've got little pieces. They're showing 1,000 farad thing right now. How long this takes? My suspicion is that if this really works, somebody's going to buy them in an instant. Yeah. Tesla, somebody. Yeah. Tesla's out there spending $3 billion to build a lithium-ion factory. If somebody gets this notion to Tesla will walk in and give them $1 billion for this technology right now.
Well, they got the partnership with Panasonic, and Panasonic certainly has the pockets to do it. So
Detroit could do it. Ford could do it. GM could do it. Anybody could buy this thing.
Yeah.
Go in there and make a deal. If this thing is looking like it's going to be their solution, because as Ford's saying, this is the future of electric cars. Yep. No question about it.
Yep.
They don't want to hear about anything except electric cars.
Yep. Yep.
And that sort of stuff. And you certainly know this, and even I know a little bit of this stuff. Right. And this to me looks like for our lifetime, the quick and dirty, I don't know if it's dirty, but it's the quick answer to the electric car, where you got plenty of battery capacity there.
Right.
And you've got and it looks like there's lots of ways to make electricity. I guess you have a couple floats in your backyard going up and down. There.
Yeah.
You could do it with the solar panel. Who knows where the economics is.
Right.
And economics may be solar. It may be floats going up and down. It may be, it may be hydrinos.
Yeah.
You should look at Blacklight. Blacklight's got some very interesting numbers floating around. Look at his briefing. He did the arithmetic on what this could yield. He's got the business plan all worked out. As soon as these things go, what he's going to do is he's going to have them manufactured and lease them to you, and you just pay him for the amount of electricity that comes out of it.
Yeah.
Puts in your car, it's got a meter on there, he'll send you a bill for the amount of electricity you generate, he'll put you in your house, do this.
Right.
But his back-of-the-envelope arithmetic says his annual income in the United States will be $27 trillion a year.
Wow.
he said, if I can replace all the coal, oil, natural gas, hydro, wind, wave, solar, etc., with this thing, by putting one of these things in everybody's basement, or every building, every structure has one, my total, I will build 27 trillion a year.
Yeah, so that sounds like something that Apple would want to buy, or Google, or somebody like that.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I suspect there's going to be some mergers and all this stuff.
Yeah.
If that's what
Yeah.
Now, how close is it to doing this? That's something else going on here. But anyway, that's the you got the general idea of what's going on in this thing. So those are the four disruptive technologies.
Yeah.
And what I think is going to, don't know what's going to happen first. Obviously, Rossi looks like he's happened already. Blacklight, we don't know. He says these things in the past, and he disappeared for years.
Right.
This time he said, I'm going to go away for 6 months, but it's been almost a year now since he went away, since the last, he had something worth showing.
Right.
This thing. The other guys are out there working hard. The float guy is a kinetic thruster thing, is working hard. They're selling them right now. That's there, I guess.
Yeah.
And they're going to. In fact, they say they got plants under construction right now. Yeah. You probably go see it. So presumably, within the year, by the end of the year, you see something, and you know as much about the graphene as I do. This sort of thing. These guys are how fast this goes. I suspect there's somebody a little larger than a small Canadian company had their fingers around it. You name it. Tesla or Detroit or Ford or somebody.
Yeah.
People already have the factories in place, the manufacturing place, and could throw 1,000 engineers at it.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. That might move a little quicker. That might happen.
Yeah. Well, look, we have gone, Tom. We have gone 52 minutes now, and I normally do about 30. This has been great. Okay. We'll have to pick this up again at some point. But before I quit, how can people? What's the best way for people to get a hold of your copies of the alerts, the bulletins that come out?
Well, that's tough to say. They come out in different places.
Okay.
There's several major websites that report on. I'm reporting on this exotic stuff.
Okay.
Occasionally, I usually write up the newspaper column I do. Interestingly enough, that's not being met too well. A lot of people in the peak oil side are skeptical.
Yeah.
This sort of thing. Because, let's face it, the physicists say this is nonsense.
Right.
I'm saying nobody's proved it's nonsense. You've got to assume that the guys that are telling you that we're doing this are lying. And that's sort of stretched the imagination. Too many guys telling you that look reasonably respectable.
Yeah.
And some of these things have just got too big. Yeah. When you see $1 billion corporation, form a big subsidiary, make a deal with the Chinese and put a factory in.
Yeah.
It's probably not a total fraud. They may be optimistic, yes, what's going to happen, but it's probably not a total fraud.
Right.
And so far, the cold freeze look a total fraud.
Yeah.
But basically, a lot of this stuff, basic stuff to follow us online. Blacklight Power's on there. Okay. Rossi, you just Google ECAT, ECAT. Right. Yeah. ECAT World is the best thing. They talk a couple times a day about where the progress is on that. Blacklight is just a one place they can do that.
Yeah. Well, but stuff that you write up, the ASPO things and things like that, in case people are interested in following that.
ASPO website. That's we do it. The ASPO website.
Okay.
You can go and subscribe to it.
Okay.
You know it's on the ASPO website.
All right, great.
Good.
All right, good. Well, Tom, thank you. Well, I didn't get to all of them, but this is a good place.
Time. If something, I'll say a note if anything major happens.
Great.
A major happening would be, I don't know. I would expect the next major happening could show up at any minute. Is Blacklight says, "Hey, we got a gadget. We're going to show it to you."
Okay.
This thing, go look at their web. He's got a lot of fascinating ideas there.
Yeah.
Like terraforming, new to me.
Yeah.
He's planning to put a bunch of wind generators off of California and blow moist ocean air across California and turn it all green again.
Right.
Except his gadget powers the big propellers going around.
Right.
He says 1,000 propellers off of California, no more drought.
Yeah. All right.
Oh no, let me do the arithmetic. So good.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
that's enough. That's
Great.
enough. We'll talk again sometime.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, glad to. Good night.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.